Hiking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the lifeblood of its community, and its pulse is gritted with sand and steel, fire and smoke. It's a city building its future together, one business, one family, and one home at a time. This is a place for makers, doers, and dreamers. It's where the global marketplace meets hometown values, where Americana isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. Here, your experience makes the difference. With access to railroads, major waterways, and 8 different highways, this is a place in motion, sending goods, services, and ideas not just across the state, but across the world. And when the work ends, the day's just beginning, with beaches like West Beach in the Indiana Dunes National Park, exciting hiking and biking trails like the Diana of the Dunes Dare or the BMX track, and local treasures and exciting festivals, you'll know you're in more than just a bedroom community. From veterans of foreign wars to hometown heroes, our diversity is our strength, and we forge our future with the same flame as our steel. Oh, there's a place in the Midwest, and it's calling you home. The best part of Portage is what's next. The best part of Portage is you. There's more for you in Indiana. There's a place in the Midwest, 50 miles southeast of Chicago, nestled near the coast of Lake Michigan. It's a place driven by what's coming next, a place where industry is the life.
I'd like to call to order our Board of Parks and Recreation meeting. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stacy, can you call roll, please?
Member Rosenbaum?
Here.
Member Warsches? Member Miletta?
Here.
Member Lee?
Here.
Member Ekdahl?
Here.
Okay, we'll begin with our minutes, and I trust everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 18th.
I'd like to approve the minutes from November 18th.
Second.
You have the motion second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Member Miletta?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Okay, we've got our financial report, and whenever someone's ready, we'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make the motion that we accept the financial report as submitted.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion in regards to the financial report? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Member Miletta?
Yes.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Next up, we've got the vouchers, and again, I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look at those, and we'll entertain a motion whenever you're ready.
Like to make a motion to accept our vouchers?
Second.
We have the motion and second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, call roll, please.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Member Miletta?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
And next up, we've got our contracts. We have the Register of Rental Contracts for November and December 2025, and the Register of Personal Service Contracts for December of 2025.
There are no personal service contracts this month.
Okay.
Like to make a motion to accept our contracts for November, December?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Call roll, please.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Member Miletta?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to make a slight change to the agenda. So I know Dave Uran's got to get out of here a little sooner, so we'll move you up. So we'll start with our park bond first. So Dave?
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate the agenda switch there. I'm actually going to be going down the street to referee the high school game here at Portage tonight, so if I'm late, they can't start the game.
We're not playing Crown Point, right?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay, so you're good.
You guys are playing Calumet New Tech, so 7 o'clock is the tip for the varsity game. Just want to give my December report. Court construction, that's already completed. No need to go into that. The shelter coordination, engineering, and fabrication. We just held a meeting with our Parks Department and H&T Electrical and Austin Equipment to review the shelter layout, electrical requirements, installation sequencing. This information was relayed to Miracle Playgrounds, who are going to be creating and building the shelter for the city. And the final engineering plans have been completed. Fabrication of the shelter will begin here shortly after the holidays. So we are on time for delivery for the spring. The foundation templates and electrical coordination. The shelter foundation templates will be shipped early. This will allow for the foundation posts to be put in, installed when they're digging and putting in for the lighting bases. They'll be installing those as well. So we're sequencing time and materials out there between the two groups that are working together. That way, cost is going to be shared across the board on that, so it's a savings to the city. The shelter layout and design and long-term maintenance. The shelter layout, if you go out there and look at it just from the naked eye, everything looks like it's going to fit just perfectly between the building and the pickleball courts. But elevations will definitely tell you something differently. So when you start to lay it out there, Kelly and I walked out there with Austin, and there's about anywhere from a 2 to 3 foot fall in elevation from the northeast corner to the southwest corner. So working with the contractor and Parks Department and in coordination with Andy here, there's going to be a little bit of grading on that to make that pavilion more level. So the end down there is not 2.5 feet out of the ground as you're near the pickleball courts, because that's going to cause for some concerns, for safety concerns, but also when you start to get an ADA fall and grading issues, that has to be lowered. So there's going to be some shaving of that ground, and which means we're going to have to probably, we are going to have to add a retention wall on the north side there between the building and the north side of the pavilion area. Probably matching the bricks of the building over there, so it'll look like it's seamless. Be 2 or 3 courses, and then the stormwater management of that will coordinate correctly where the water flows to the southwest of that coordinates over there. So working with staff and through Kelly's leadership, that has been already designed. DVG is going to go out there and actually measure everything, so the subcontractor then has the ability to then go ahead and make sure those elevations are correctly to match the 64 by 30 pavilion. There are some utilities that were located below there. We did get some information about that today. There is a, when I say a water line, it's not like your typical city water line where it's a main. It's like a residential 1.25 inch line that's out there. That may have to be slightly modified. It's not a big deal. It's just a matter like if you're moving a home or doing anything like that, you would have to just move that line so it stays within the 48 inches below the frost ground. So if we do shave a little bit of that, because it is at the 48 inch mark, we'll have to lower that line or just relocate it, and that's going to stay within the boundaries of the contract. I talked to the contractor, I thought this should be fairly simple to do. And then the long-term philosophy of this whole thing is as well is where the landscaping, the retaining wall, the distance between the pickleball and where the lighting is coming from Musco is all going to be positioned correctly. So if you have zero-turn mowers that have to go through there, they can manage that easily, so it's not specialized equipment that's bringing in. And then the retaining wall will have the correct landscaping features to it, becomes maintenance-free. So we're not adding any more work to the Parks Department once this is all completed. So all that information and the decisions were done this week, and we'll be continuing to move forward for a deliverable shelter for Phase 3 here in the spring. So again, the patio sidewalk connections will meet all ADA grade accessibility requirements. Other than that, we are right on course, and just wanted to give an update. Any questions of the board?
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Dave, I have a question. Before we started this project, we had brought up security cameras out there.
Yes.
And I haven't seen anything discussed since then. Is that still in the works?
Yes.
Is that still
Yeah,
figured out?
yeah, because we're 4 months away from that portion of it. So when the electrical gets put in, there's going to be 4 outlets on the outside course of the pavilion area. All the poles for the Musco lights have electrical outlets on those as well. So once we get into maybe a couple months where everything's going to be finally laid out, we'll bring a couple of the local vendors who do security cameras and get a walk through of a visual area. And we have electrical set up for that as well. So we're just a little early in the game because, you know, we're not there yet, but it's
Right.
never too early. But I know it's one of the bucket lists that we're going to
Yeah,
have to go
that's
ahead.
what we had discussed, and I was just wanted to verify that it was still
Yes,
in
yes.
the works.
And that's still going to be within the course of the dollars that's been allocated for the overall cost. Yeah.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Great
with-
question. Yep, go ahead.
Sorry. The utility lines that you hit into, now what additional money is that going to cost?
Again, that's all based on earth being moved there. I've talked to the contractors. We've built in a 10% contingency fund for all these projects. Even with the 10% contingency fund, we're still below the advertised dollar amounts we brought in. So
That's awesome to hear.
by having Austin coordinate with H&T and H&T coordinated with Austin, because it's seamless out there, the change order for the electrical for the shelter will be just a change order coming in from the Musco side, which we had a balance carried from that side. And we allocated money for electrical. By having the trades work together, that's a cost savings that's going to be afforded back to the board here.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Great, thanke you for the update.
A little too cold to play pickleball tonight, but, you know.
Just a tad.
Yeah, we're getting closer than ever before, so.
Great,
okay.
yeah, we look forward to.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, too.
Thank you.
Appreciate the partnership. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
And make sure Portage gets all the calls. Okay, we'll move into new business. We have Sportsman Solutions.
Via Teams. They are out of the area, so it was just made more sense for them to join us this week to give a presentation.
I heard about Sportsman Solutions at the INPRA conference that
The session
was called Low Maintenance Sponsorships for Big Projects. And with as much as Portage is growing,
continue to grow. We want
those bigger sponsorships and to be able to go after them in
efficient way. So
they specialize in this. Clarksville in
who maybe 5,000 population, they really helped them get on board with those higher sponsorships and get in contact with the people you need to speak with to get naming rights, just the higher dollar amounts that we're all probably going to be needing, especially as a park with the state cuts coming. So we have Ryan and Jacob from Sportsman Solutions wanting to give a short presentation, and then if you had any questions for them, we thought it'd be good for them to be with us this way for any questions you may have. So if you
Great.
want to get started, Ryan.
Yeah, guys, nice to meet you. Ryan Man Solutions. I also have Jacob Goike, my partnership services coordinator, on the call. There's about 6 of us on the team, so we're not that great of a big of an organization. So Jacob and I started up the sponsorship department for Sportsman Solutions 4 years ago, and then throughout a lot of our work, we the names that you guys had been mentioning earlier as I was listening, very familiar with the Musco brand, just because our headquarters is right there in Waukee, Iowa. I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then we have offices in Texas, and then fortunately, a couple of different offices as people kind of move around on our team as far as interns go, and they go off to college and they help us out. Sportsman Solutions from a grassroots perspective. We're a youth sports organization. We got our start in 2006. I'll say a name that you guys probably are familiar with, Caitlin Clark. She was playing in our boys basketball leagues, playing against Jacob growing up. And then, that was back when we had 300 to 400 kids in our youth sports organization. And then since then we've grown to, just north of about 12,000 that covers Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas City, Minnesota. And then ultimately too, with all of those kids, we ended up moving from one of our headquarters in Waukee that does about 550,000 visits annually, and put about $20 to $25 million of our own money into a youth sports complex community center in Norwalk, Iowa, where we helped bring telecom fiber to a rural area in Iowa, as well as some low to medium income, or should I say density housing, that'll be part of a $300 million development eventually once Diligent Development is the group as far as they bringing out additional retail pieces. As far as Norwalk goes, we generated naming rights with Greg Young Automotive, along with kind of an indoor-outdoor piece. So we worked with the city of Norwalk to help bring their Parks and Rec division into a new building, a 45,000 square foot building. They bonded probably about $9 million of that, and then we found naming rights to that building along with beverage rights. And then ultimately, when you build these things, a lot of the communities, they want to know what's going on and how you're operating it, because we'll create feasibility studies, pro formas for communities, not just school districts or municipal governments, but private organizations, to try and figure out if it makes sense for them to build sports complexes, or if they're operating in the red. How do we come in and potentially help manage the facility to get it into the black? And then fortunately, we're tied in with Diamond Allegiance, and that's kind of our entrance into the Indiana market. We were working with Canes Midwest, the baseball organization out in Brownsburg, Indiana. They're working on a pretty large development on about 100 acres of land, and then throughout that, you kind of connect the dots to Clarksville, Indiana, where we're really tied in with USSSA. It's a youth sports baseball, softball organization that hosts a lot of tournaments across the area. For the longest time, we were running those tournaments, managing those tournaments for Central Iowa Sports, which is the USSSA brand there. So we're much more than just a sponsorship agency. We're a Swiss Army knife, essentially for these organizations to come in and lean on, especially when it comes to these multimodal destinations where folks are staying at our hotels, eating at our restaurants, and, contributing to, furthering the economic development and impact of communities. And really what drives that along with these projects is sponsorship. A couple of different resources that we provide, at no upfront cost. There's no retainer. It's a lot like real estate, selling a house. You don't pay us until, we ultimately bring a deal to the table that you're comfortable with. And, ultimately, we can use a city parks and rec email to ensure that the brand standards are up to your guys' standards. It's not, our project. We're an extension of your guys' project, and that's worked really well in the past. And you might be thinking, okay, how do you go about finding these sponsors? And normally we like to look local first, to where I don't have the city manager or the mayor calling me saying, hey, why is carsforsale.com trying to take the naming rights here, when we have a local Chevrolet dealership that might be interested in being a sponsor. So our goal is to exhaust that local market. And then we also join the Chamber of Commerce, depending on whether or not if the Parks and Rec division or the client isn't already a part of the Chamber of Commerce. So we make an investment into the community right away. I mean, ultimately we go into the the red right away on any given project to show that we have a commitment to a facility, to a municipality, to a Parks and Rec, organization. And a lot of what we utilize, and ultimately too, I'll share my screen and how we find these sponsors. We spend probably about $35,000 annually on sponsorship tools. So here we have Zoom info. And what I did was I targeted the state of Indiana. I put in the Portage zip code, and then also targeted every single business within a 10-mile radius of that zip code. So what you'll see here is, businesses and organizations, C-suite directors and executives, so the decision makers that have direct access to saying yes or no. So, Andrew Gross here at Alliance Steel, ultimately it shows their email, their cell phone, their information to, make sure that we're getting in touch with the right people. And ultimately, as you see, my goal is to identify these folks, within a 10-mile radius, Albany's Candy. Ultimately, too, it shows their annual revenue, so $94.5 million. So that leads me to believe, hey, they probably can afford more than just an outfield banner. They could be a good candidate for naming rights. So at least you have that capability. And then if I haven't been able to get connected with someone via email, I have their business location, so I can send them, a crafty little, welcome card or holiday card to let them know, and with my business card in there to let them know we're excited about meeting. And then the other resource that we utilize is Sponsor United, to where you'll see here in these markets to where, Portage is in the Chicago media market and then the state of Indiana, and that'll pull roughly, 7,300, brands that are doing business, not only in the state of Indiana, but your guys' media market. So, with Fifth Third Bank, for example, there's a lot of good cross-checking that goes into this. So Maria Holmes handles all of their sponsorship information. So if I go to Maria and go to the copy of the email and the introduction, and then type her name in right here, I can also get Maria's cell phone number because her name pops up right there. So a lot of these different resources that get made available to Portage Parks and Recreation just through our own investments, that comes at no crazy cost or any cost at all to Portage Parks and Rec, just from the value add to our work. So, and typically what we do, we'll put together a good marketing packet. So ultimately we'll pull from about $2 to $3 billion, and whether it's new construction, active construction, or facilities that already exist. So municipalities all across the country that are similar to the size of Portage, to where you might be thinking, where do you guys get your numbers and valuation to naming rights, or what would something like our community be able to get as far as additional sponsorships? Because we don't just go after naming rights, we go after every single sponsorship opportunity that we identify and that the Parks and Rec staff for sell. We'll put together a go-to-market packet that's up to your guys' brand standards, and then it'll have all the valuations from the outfield signs to the naming rights to the pouring rights, beverage rights. So what that means with pouring rights and beverage rights, to where maybe you guys are, going down to the local grocery store and buying Coke, buying Pepsi. Well, we just monetized over in Lampasas, Texas, just north of about $350,000 over a 10-year term because they weren't, actively pursuing those beverage rights. We'll put together a full list of available assets, take those to market. So essentially, once we feel like we have that packet ready and it's been okayed by, Parks and Rec staff, we then go to market, and we're the ones that make all of those asks. So we're in the meetings doing all the cold calling, pitching those directors. And then once we feel like, we have somebody interested, we'll put together a proposal or an agreement that that has already been approved by your guys' in-house legal team, ultimately, so that the legal counsel can review that, because we don't sign off on any of these agreements. You guys have final say as to who becomes the sponsor, and normally the sponsors we go after are family friendly. It's not anybody that would raise concern or not fit the brand standards of Portage Parks and Recreation. And we handle all the invoicing, we renew all the deals, because we understand that Parks Board's turnover, city council's turnover, the local mom and pop baseball organization, to where their kids graduate, they go off to college, they have no emotional attachment to the board anymore. So we're a long-term partner that will help ensure long-term revenue as you guys try to offset different debt services across the Parks and Rec district. So that's the 10,000-foot lens on Sportsman Solutions. Kind of long-winded, but happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
So, yeah, I got a question for you. So there's no cost to us until you get a sponsorship, is that correct? And then you get a percentage, of whatever that sponsorship is? Is that right?
Correct, and there's, I believe, what a warm lead and a cold lead to where a warm lead is a set price on a commission, and then well, the cold lead's a set price, and then the warm lead to where, if you have a friend, and you're down at dinner and you're talking about, potential sponsorship opportunities, and you make that introduction to me, that's a lower commission because the Parks Board or the city was involved to where that's more money in the Parks Board's or Parks organization's pocket.
So, so let's say you guys, you do your job and you work and you're all excited and you come to us with a big sponsor for naming rights of something. What happens if we look at that and say, we don't really want that sponsor? You guys put your work in on it. Is there some consequence to us if we turn one down? And I say that
No,
because
there's-
maybe it's one of the weed companies that are out in Michigan, right? It's not legal in Indiana, right? I'm just saying. We see them putting billboards up all over in Indiana. They're doing so. If one of them came in and said, "Yeah, we want to sponsor," we would have the ability to say, that's not a good fit for us, and there's no consequence to that.
Probably wouldn't go after them anyways. A lot of those people that we go after are people that are in those chambers that or vendor partners that the Parks Board does business with, on a month-to-month basis. So there'd be some familiarity, and then even from those national partners, whether it's like a U.S. bank or somebody else, they would be in a family-friendly setting, and then even more so too, just to show you how transparently we operate. We're working with one of the largest school districts and foundations in the state of Nebraska with the Millard Public Schools Foundation and building a $21 million activity center. What you'll see here is an active lead list of everybody that we're talking to, what type of role that they play, where we found them, who we're in talks with, if they're in or if they're out, and then ultimately, all of our partners, as far as our clients, have direct access at any point in time. Like if you miss an update meeting, we try to keep our sponsors up to date, or our clients up to date as much as possible. This is a live Rolodex that shows you who we're talking with, to where, hey, here's Fairway, Jeff Stearns. Maybe you have a different contact that's better as far as local, or a different decision maker because Jeff Stearns is set to retire, that something that I don't. Being the boots on the ground, you're able to make that update rather than let's say you're on the road and you had to be out and you had to miss a meeting. This keeps you up to date every single day.
Thank you. So the next question, I guess, would be for the staff. Do we have some facilities or something that we're targeting for sponsorships?
Took away from the session that I went to, the more assets you have, the more money you could be bringing in that you're missing. You could name a slide if you want. At the end of the day, we have a pretty good sponsorship program right now. I'd say at top of last year, maybe we brought in $25,000 in sponsorships. That's being generous, but it's kind of a win-win if we go with them, because unless we get paid, they don't get paid. And they're going after those bigger ones. So, if we were to give naming rights to Imagination Glen and we get $10,000 for 10 years for this sponsorship, that's way more money than we would have gotten with just one naming rights. And then you could even break it down to a field. So then Soccer Field 1 is going to be this name, Soccer Field 1 brought to you by Albanese. And then you get money on top of money. It obviously wouldn't conflict with each other with the businesses. So if you have an Albanese, you wouldn't want South Bend Chocolate Company, to be really simple.
Like the concession stand,
Yes.
powered by Pepsi.
Yes.
So if there's a way that, if we have so many assets,
Yes.
and I feel like we could be leaving money on the table, and with the constraints that are coming, if we can team up with a company of this size that has a proven track record to create that type of revenue, I think that Portage is a very large city in Porter County, and it has a lot to offer, and we have a lot of assets that, whether even the amphitheater, at Founders, like it used to be the water company or whatever, but if you can get, and what you were saying, Ryan, was that when you do a sponsor, you can do it over like a 5-year term. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways, throughout the negotiation period, with the sponsor. Let's use US Bank, for example. They could sign on to take the naming rights to the soccer complex at, let's say $50,000 a year for 10 years. Or there's an opportunity to write an upfront check, money now to the Parks organization for $450,000. And, you guys win by getting that money now, and then they win by getting a little bit of a discount. But even more so too, leaning into some of our connections for some of your guys' tournaments too. It's not just sponsorships. There's other revenue generating opportunities like the beverage rights and the tournaments just from our access all across the country to, we could definitely open a lot of different doors for Portage.
So in my past life, that's what I did, was I bought sponsorship. So so you could do it, and there are local companies that you just have to ask them, right? So I guess, so what you guys are saying is, let these guys do the asking, you can do what you gotta do, and let them do the legwork of it, right? That's kind of what we're looking at here.
And the time and just make it right. Make sure everything
is where it needs to be, so that we can keep growing and going in the right direction.
So Adam, have you had a chance to look over this contract at all?
So, I haven't had an opportunity to see the whole thing. There are a few points where. So to rehash, I haven't had an opportunity to review the whole document, but there are some issues. I think it's okay if the board wants to entertain this tonight, but any approval I would recommend be subject to legal review, specifically page 14. Essentially, by entering into this agreement, it's stating that Sportsman would be the exclusive representative, and just wanted to make sure the board understood the ramifications of that. So it's the second bullet point from the bottom, and then there'd be some other issues, one of which is that the contract would be interpreted and enforced pursuant to Iowa law, so we would, pursuant to Indiana law, we have to change that to Indiana. So just some minor things, but again.
So maybe we're best to maybe table this and give you an opportunity to review it and kind of go back and forth and get some of that stuff cleaned up with them and bring it back next month?
I don't know how sort of hot to trot you guys are on it.
That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Do that.
If I could address that too, it doesn't have to be, and I appreciate the fact that you guys, reviewed that to where it doesn't have to be in Iowa. And then for a talking point as far as being exclusive goes, that just ultimately protects our business model, just because we're not paid until you guys are paid, to where we don't want somebody else out there trying to secure sponsors when we're out there working for free, essentially. So that is a protection clause for Sportsman Solutions.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's kind of our procedure with contracts is, obviously, we don't want to negotiate the contract here at a public meeting. It's best to do, and that's what we have an attorney for, right, to do that. So I would suggest that maybe we have a motion to table to allow our attorneys a chance to work with you guys, work out those things, and then bring it back to us as a complete and ready to be approved contract.
There might be a ramp, I don't want to call it a ramp up, more of a ramp down period in the event with that exclusivity, because it would then eliminate any existing sponsors, so you might want to look at time, things like that, so.
Okay. Someone like, if the board's in agreement with that, would someone like to make that motion?
I will make the motion that we table this until our attorneys get to review it. And I'd like to also talk to some of the people that they've worked with. I'd be interested in, how they reach people and kind of cover our bases with that.
Like references of who they've worked with or people they've contacted?
Bridges that should be burned, we can fix them.
Ryan, can you get us a contact that you could email me from Clarksville that maybe like a reference that could maybe put together an email that we could send to the board so that they know what type of working relationship this was like?
Yeah, maybe a couple folks you've worked
Yeah.
with. I mean, I think this is a great idea. I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure that, you know, we're dotting our i's, crossing our t's, and doing everything right for both parties. So yeah, anything you can send that we could from a reference standpoint and report back to the board, and then our attorney have a chance. So we have the motion. Is there a second?
Just another question on being exclusive. Say, for example, someone very wealthy moves into the area who owns a business. Now his son's playing whatever ball, and he goes, "Hey, I want to be a sponsor." So now how does that affect you, affecting us?
So if they came to you guys directly,
Yes.
yeah, that would be a warm lead. So ultimately in that packet, we have it broken down between cold leads and warm leads.
Okay, that's a good question. So
if we got
if we went out on our own, so we, you know, got our own sponsors, like the ones we currently have, maybe they're going to renew. So now you guys would get a cut of all of those?
So on any new sponsors, so as far as the existing ones, you know, the ultimate goal would be to get those groups to pay more. But as far as any new sponsorships, like we would handle that just so we're not being boxed out. I mean, happy to put together, you know, I guess a proposal too as to what it would look like if you guys are out in market to where we're on a retainer. So it just protects us as far as, you know, what our business model is. So the overall goal with a no upfront fee, no retainer business model is that we're the group's sponsorship agency. But if the group wants to go out and sell their own sponsorships, and from my conversations, I don't know if that's something that the group wants to do, happy to put together, you know, an option that also involves a retainer that protects Sportsman Solutions too.
But to Trustee Lee's point, we didn't go out and solicit one. Somebody just came to us and said, hey, look, we want to give you $5,000 to be a sponsor. We wouldn't be able to, then we would have to turn that over to you guys, or could we just say, okay, fine, we're going to take that sponsorship, take the $5,000, or do we have to turn that over to you guys so you can get your, 35% cut out of it?
The goal would be to utilize our services as your sponsorship arm, and then ultimately assess that $5,000 value to a sponsorship that, you know, value that we put in with the packet, to where, hey, let's make sure that we reference the packet. And ultimately, that's something that we've created. And then, you know, I'll use Fifth Third Bank for an example. You know, we've approached them and, you know, in negotiations with them in other markets. So we're familiar with good starting points as to where they could potentially fit in, or, you know, let's say a telecom industry to where they've spent this amount of money, let's say, you know, $25,000 in another market, and know that, you know, they missed out on another opportunity where there's another $20,000 available if they have, you know, a footprint in your guys' neck of the woods. Yeah, I would assume that we would be referencing that marketing packet that hasn't been created before, and I think there's value in that.
So I have a little hang up with that. So I think that's something maybe we need to work out with the attorneys, because like, let's say as a realtor, I say I want to give $1,000 to sponsor, put my banner up on the baseball field. I don't know if I feel good about, well, I'm going to give you $1,000, but only $750 of it's going to go to the baseball field. That's, I just feel like, you know, those that had no involvement in, where we're not soliciting, they just came to us. I just feel like, why would we have to share that sponsorship? So again, I'll let you work that out with our attorneys. Again, we don't need to negotiate that now, but I think that's something to think about. Anybody have any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a second. We have a motion.
I'd like to second to table.
We have a motion and a second. If there is no other questions, call roll, please.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Miletta? Yes. Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it, and look forward to hopefully working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday. Okay, next we'll move on to total disposal contract.
Total disposal contract, I think Adam's going to touch base on that. We have recently switched over. The street department and sanitation, or the sanitation department, has switched over their contract. So there was better pricing available, but total disposal is saying that we are looped into to this contract, and they're not permitting us to switch. So he was looking into that contract to see if there's a way to try to save the city money, be fiscally responsible, and, you know.
Yeah, the contract, this is the one where it's the 5-year, yeah. Essentially, my thinking on that one was is if the board just simply didn't appropriate, said we're not going to appropriate dollars for that specific contract, well, then it's void by law. And that was kind of my thought there. So the next step would be to authorize myself or Dan to send a letter to them saying that that was the action the board was.
So then what is the ask of the board tonight, or is this informational at this point?
Mainly informational, but I just wanted to touch base since we were here. I mean, there's a significant savings that we can have by moving our disposal service. So I just wanted to revisit that and make sure that we can get that ball rolling.
Right, so what that law, what it says is that if the fiscal body doesn't appropriate those dollars, well, then that contract is void. There's no such thing as a contract that could, well, there is such thing, but in this contract, it cannot continue for beyond 1 year without appropriation by the board, and if there is no appropriation by the board, well, then it's void. So that was my thinking on it, was just putting that in sort of a simple way in a letter, and then letting them know and see if that gets traction.
So no action by the board, they don't need to make any motion or anything? No, okay.
The issue wasn't just reviewing the share.
Okay, yeah, get it. Anybody have any other questions about that? Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is I didn't even renew it, it's like an auto renewal. It's almost very sneaky, the way it's.
That's why I don't
Say
like
that,
long
but-
contracts with auto renewal in them. You should
Yeah, I
always
just-
have the opportunity to come back and review
Like,
those.
should require-
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's technically void, they can't do that, but, kind of the onus is on us to say you can't do that, so that's the next step.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to fees and charges. We have concession pricing and then sports softball.
Yeah, we just needed to add the gloves and socks. They were not added to the last meeting, so. For the rink, they were purchased while I was gone on vacation, so.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the concession pricing or the sports pricing? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the fees for the gloves and the socks.
I second.
The motion is second. Any questions or discussion? And call roll, please.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Member Miletta?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Okay. I don't believe we have any unfinished business. Committee reports. Do we have a plan commission update?
I do not.
Okay. Moves us to department staff remarks.
Yeah, just a couple things. Our comedy show was really well attended. We had almost 100 people there, so that was excellent. It was really nice to see. Our Christmas craft show was a great success. We do have a new UIC, Joel Sheets, for our softball. We had a meeting with him, and he has some great ideas to bring additional teams. He's shooting for 70 teams. And he plans on reaching out to a lot of church groups, also adding a senior league for the 55 and older. I'm excited about working with him. I think it'll be very positive. Friday, Elf the movie plays at 5:30 in Woodland, and we have Santa Claus from 12 to 2. K-9 presentation will be there along with their group. And last year we had like 100 attend, so it's a really successful event. And other than that, that's really all I have.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for our park superintendent? Okay,
And maybe the ice rink, sorry, I guess I could touch base on that.
yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
sorry, I mean, it's kind of a big deal, right? It's open, the weekends are really great. The weather's been a little rough on us, but it looks like it's gonna warm up this week. Warm meaning maybe 35 or 40. So we are, the ice is great. It looks great. The people are enjoying it. We're doing some theme nights that they're really pushing on social media, like a superhero night, a Disney night, an ugly sweater night, an 80s. So we're really trying to draw attendance in that way as well. The mayor posted a contest, which there was like 400 shares, because everyone knows his following is huge. And so we picked a winner for that. So we're just pushing on through.
Well,
And-
yeah, and the weather's warming up, so
Yeah.
a 30-degree increase is going to feel like balmy.
Yeah.
And the kids are going to be out of
They'll be
school here
shorts.
soon,
Yeah.
so it'll get busy.
So, yeah, so that's exciting. Yes.
Yeah, the response from people that I know that have been there has been over the top. Everybody's really pleased with the rink, so good job.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, do we have any public comments? Anybody like to address the board? Please come forward.
Good evening. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, my name is Rod, Portage, Indiana. Wow. What an exciting meeting. These seats should be filled. They're available for the public. The public can pick their seat, and the public can watch excellent leadership at work. What does a top-tier presentation of a consulting company look like? I mean, members of the public, youth could have been here today to get a glimpse of something like that. And what does leadership asking questions look like? That's why I have popcorn, because this is exciting. I think that we can, consider this a new technology to take in an amazing public meeting, and we should always be evolving on technology. We have a great mayor, Mayor Bonta back there, and, the mayor will tell you if I'm lying on his name. I talked to the mayor about this specific thing a couple of meetings ago, about why not having naming rights. The mayor and I had a specific conversation about, pursuing sponsors, for naming rights, and here we are. So I want to commend the leadership at this table. I can't speak anything about this particular organization. I think the best thing that we need to do is bring about competition. I'm sure this is not the only organization in the industry, and where one organization may not accept our terms, maybe another one, maybe another one will, and maybe you could consider directing the legal team to find some other examples of companies in this industry and in this space, so that there can be a comparison of which companies can best serve the city in the short term and the long term, and the residents. I think that would be a very intelligent thing to do. Ryan Patrick, the gentleman you heard from today, graduated from the University of Sioux Falls in 2015. According to the website, he grew the portfolio to over $500 million in new projects, the Norwalk Central, the MD West 1 Sports Complex, the Gretna Crossing, and others. So this group could be amazing. I don't really have experience in this, particularly per se, but I think bringing in competition and having our very competent legal team, finding that information, that would be good and great. But yeah, those are my comments today. Thank you for your service and blessings.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here, and have a great holiday.
Yes.
Mayor, you have something to add?
If that's okay. Well, I was brought up in context. No, you're not lying. That is a conversation we had about sponsorships and ways to do it, and I appreciate the effort. I also appreciate that we've got a park board that reviews these things, because, to put it simply, you want to make sure that you're not in a situation where we can't recruit on our own. And sometimes these companies, organizations, whatever you want to call them, they've got their default contract, and that's why we've got a legal team to look at it, and we've got you guys to review it too. So I appreciate that, because I think the concept's good, but we want to make sure that it's done in a Portage way and in a way that, quite frankly, allows us. Something that I was reminded, though, of, only just in context of the conversation when Imagination Glen, was mentioned, and Kelly, you brought up, there's the ability to have the name itself or a naming rights to something or a piece in it, and then there's the kind of the secondary naming rights, what did you say, powered by Pepsi?
Powered by Pepsi,
Just
Imagination Glen, powered by Pepsi.
Right,
or
like the name
whatever.
stays.
Yeah.
Imagination Glen and Woodland, I believe, were actually, and it's funny, the other thing, which is contests, we just had really a huge, like, online contest that led to someone winning, 4, passes for the ice skating rink. But Imagination Glen and I think Woodland were named because of contests back in the past. And Gina, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, wasn't your brother the winner of at least one of those contests? And I forget which one he named, I'm sorry.
Woodland Park.
Which one was it?
Woodland Park.
He named Woodland Park, and someone else named Imagination Glen is in a contest, or maybe I'm misremembering that.
Yeah, it was when I was in school. I was in the contest for Imagination Glen, and of course, I didn't win that one.
What did you want to call Imagination Glen?
Gina Park.
Yeah, Gina. My brother won the contest. I need to win the other park or something. Just I only think of that because knowing that some things have been named either after. Sometimes you have things named after people. Like I don't know if the wolf of Wolf Park is related at all to the other wolf. Like that's just something I don't know. I'm sure the Historical Society might be able to answer, but just as we're having this discussion, making sure that we're kind of thinking about, is there a history that we're not either losing, because I didn't know that Imagination Glen or Woodland were named from a contest except by talking to Gina, just by us being friends, talk about things, or I wouldn't have learned. And I'm sorry, yeah.
So if I may, we would keep Imagination Glen sponsored by.
Oh, yeah.
Name, and then we would just add
Oh, yeah.
sponsor to it.
But I only say that because, Community Acres, no offense to Community Acres, I think we just needed a name for a park. Unless there's a story I don't know, I'm guessing that we just needed to name it something because, Perry Park, I don't know the history with the Perry, but I'm sure someone does. Roberts has a
But I
very
can
cool.
envision what you're saying. You still Imagination
Yeah.
Glen, but maybe there's a Monticello logo underneath it. Right.
Right. So to me,
many of our streets in Portage are named after families. It's awesome.
And then sometimes you meet people like random, I shouldn't say random, but I mean, sometimes a street is just a name, like they needed to name it something. And then sometimes there's like a deep history, like Richard and Russell Street being named after 2 World War II veterans. Not everybody knows that, but there's a number of people that do. Just making sure that maybe if we have some ability to trace that, as we're going through and having these discussions about naming things after or renaming things, just making sure we're not missing one over the other. I don't think there's any risk of Richard Street being renamed, but just as an example, No, you guys are doing great, and I appreciate this, because, this really began from a lot of conversations of how do we take advantage of more people coming to our parks to also monetize that, but then also how do we keep our history within it, and I just appreciate this team in particular, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I love the idea too. And I like your idea of, maybe there's other companies to look at too, right? Why not? But it's hard for staff to go out and knock on those doors and do that. No, it's good to have someone who does that for a living, and their success rate will probably be a lot higher. So I love the idea. So it's just a matter of working those kinks out of it. And I, as the mayor said, do it the Portage way. Yeah, I think that would be good. Our next meeting is January 20th. Before we go, I do want to say thank you to John Harrison, who this will be his last meeting with us. John stepped in and lended a hand and brought an expertise and a skill set, and I know you'll be sorely missed, but we're all going to be a little jealous because I'm sure you're going to be spending some time in warm weather.
Yeah.
So, but again, thank you for that. You are president of the Park Foundation, so you're still going to have an involvement with the Portage Parks. And again, we appreciate your service to us, and congratulations on your next retirement. Anybody have anything else this evening? We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion?
Wishing everybody.
Call roll, please.
Member Miletta?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Member Ekdahl?
Yes.
Member Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Have a great holiday, everybody.
Yes, everybody have a blessed holiday.